Danny, how important do you think this win over the 49ers was to Seattle?
I mean, it was a game changer in a lot of ways. I think people were kind of ready to pack it in and call this like a lost year. I think if they would have lost that game, I think if Geno hadn't made that drive down the stretch, it maybe potentially changes the outlook for him going forward in the future, even though I don't believe that would be the right way to do it. But I think it could have changed perceptions a little bit. And so for a lot of reasons, it was a really, really important win. And, Geno getting the game-winning drive there, I think kind of like changes the perspective I'm sure a lot of people have about him. So I was like really, really encouraged, obviously, that now they're in the playoff hunt still.
Offensive line has been an issue for us, as you know, and everyone else who watches football knows. But Abe Lucas was back, and then Oluwatimi on that at that center spot. What differences did you see in the Seahawks offensive line?
Well, I mean, I think from the very beginning, they were getting pretty good push in the run game, which has been an issue all year. Obviously, like short yardage and things like that have always been kind of a struggle this season. So getting Oluwatimi in there, I think that was kind of a nice boost. He played a lot better than I was expecting or hoping. So happy with that. Hopefully he can continue to build on that. I think, obviously getting Abe Lucas back, he was rotating in, but, just getting him back in there, I think it improved the pass rush. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt because Nick Bosa was missing for big chunks of this game. But overall, I thought the offensive line performed really well. And that would be such a key thing if these guys can kind of come together second half of the season or down the stretch of the season, because I think when Geno has time, man, he can really pick apart a defense. And so, obviously having that offensive line start to perform a little bit better, could have a massive, massive impact on this team.
I think a lot of people were really excited about the hiring of Mike Macdonald when he was brought here to Seattle. And still, we know that a slow start is probably likely when you have a new head coach taking over. That being said, was the Seahawks start to the season, I would say up to the bye, so like the first good chunk of the season, a surprise to you in any way or about what you were expecting?
I would say, vibes point of view, probably a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
I expected them to be up and down throughout the season. I think you have to expect that. I think no one really thought this was like a Super Bowl contending team to start the season, but I think that there was a lot of hope that the defense would look better than it had prior to the last 2 weeks. That being said, the defense has really kind of stiffened up over the last 2 weeks and started to look like a cohesive unit, started to tackle a little bit better. I thought they did a pretty good job in this last game of like rallying to the football, tackling, and getting Debo in space, getting Christian McCaffrey in space. Obviously, you're not going to make every single tackle, but I thought they did a better job of that. And just generally speaking, it feels like the defense is kind of coming together and feeling, like I said, like a cohesive unit for the first time all season. So that's really, really encouraging because I was like, I would say I'd admit a little bit, disappointed by the performance of the defense. I think the vibes coming into this last game were kind of starting to deteriorate because there was, the Connor Williams retirement. You got like trading away starting defenders. It was just kind of like, what is happening? What's going on with this team? I got a bunch of texts from people being like, what is going on? And so, I admit I was a little bit like disappointed overall with kind of, I guess, just the vibes of it, where everything was going. But, obviously this is a huge, huge win for them and potentially like a turning point in the season, hopefully. So, this is the nature of an NFL season is like there's ups and downs and massive swings in momentum. And I think if they can kind of take this game and go forward and get the momentum going in the right direction, then, we can look at this season as an overall success and a reason to be really looking forward to what Mike Macdonald can do long term.
What do you think the outcome is for this season? I know that's a lot, right? You got to play the Cardinals twice. You got the Jets, the Vikings, Green Bay, the Bears, and you finish with the Rams. Stacy and I felt like this game was extremely important. You had to win this one for us to look at the rest of the season and say, you might be able to do this if you were a betting man. What would you think about what do you think the odds are that the Seahawks make a run at this thing?
If I was a betting man, I think the odds are pretty, I would say right now, I think I predicted prior to the season the Seahawks would get 9 wins. And I'm still feeling pretty good about that. I think if they can win against the Cardinals this week, obviously that's a challenge. The Cardinals are looking better than they have been. But they got 2 games against the Cardinals. They got the Jets. If they can split one of the Packers, Vikings, or, beat the Bears, I think they have a pretty solid chance of getting to 9 wins, and they're going to be in the hunt in this division because I think this division is just going to beat up on each other, the rest of the season here. So I think they have a solid chance maybe not a good chance, but a solid chance of going to the playoffs. And honestly, like right now, I'll take that because like coming into this week, I think all during the bye week, people are just kind of like, do we blow this thing up and like start from scratch? Like, are we trying to tank or what? So obviously this 49ers win is huge from a, just like what to expect from the rest of the season point of view. I think there's still hope that the Seahawks can make a run at this thing. And honestly, like that's like, you see this every season. The team that gets hot at the right time generally are like the teams no one wants to face in the playoffs. If you can stay healthy and get hot at the right time, then I think the Seahawks team can play with anyone. I think the only problem is, of course, they sometimes will, lose games they probably should win. I really think they should have won that Rams game 2 weeks ago. They certainly should not have lost to the Giants. And so I think there's, this is the type of team that I think they can play with anybody, but they also can kind of like play down to their opponents as well.
Lose to anybody.
Right, exactly. I still can't believe that Giants game, to be totally honest. Like that was like probably the low point in terms of like vibes. But yeah, I'm still sticking strong to like kind of, I think this is more or less like what I was expecting. I predicted 9 wins. I think they can still get there.